Unconscious Bias tour, and I hope some of you in the room had an opportunity to go because it was one of the coolest things I've done in my first 11 and a half weeks in this job. And I signed the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion, and am committed to this unconscious bias pledge that I made that day, and will continue to work hard such that our campus can be a leader in this space. The Diversity Awards recognize significant contributions of people and teams here at Carolina who make us a better campus community. As Felicia's already mentioned, we were so thrilled that we had a record number of nominations this year, and I just think that that speaks to the importance that we place on diversity and inclusion, and will allow us to move forward. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to say a few words. Congratulations and thank you to the Wordsmiths. They were fantastic. And congratulations to our award winners, and thank you for making Carolina a welcoming and supporting home for everyone here. And a special thank you to those of you who put a lot of time into making this event possible. So again, welcome and enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I didn't hear you. Good afternoon. So I'm Gretchen Bellamy. I'm the Senior Director for Education, Operations, and Initiatives in the University Office for Diversity and Inclusion. And it is my distinct honor to present the Diversity Award for 2019 to you. The Diversity Awards program was established in 2009 to recognize significant contributions made by individuals and organizations to the enhancement and support and furtherance of diversity and inclusion on campus and the community. This year's recognition is the 11th time that we've been here together. Additionally, each year as part of this annual Diversity Awards ceremony, we recognize Diversity Award winners as well as our Harvey Beach Scholarship awardees. The Harvey Beach Scholarship is awarded annually to 3 UNC Chapel Hill students based on academic, GPA improvement, both semester and cumulative, and contributions to campus life. The scholarship award is named for the late Harvey Beach, the first African American student to graduate from UNC. I'd like to honor our 3 recipients, who unfortunately can't be with us today because they're improving their GPA as we speak. They're being recognized for their leadership in academic achievements. The students are Luis Amaya Villa, a sophomore sociology major, Cameron Richmond, a sophomore business administration major, and Maggie Stein, a sophomore biology major. So, despite them not being here, let's give them a round of applause. And I'd like to take a minute to just describe what the process is for selecting our awardees. In an effort to reduce unintended bias, the committee employed a blind procedure in the review and selection process. Each nomination was de-identified, allowing the committee to focus on giving consideration only to the contributions and the achievements of the nominees. The committee met to discuss each candidate's nomination across all of the categories. The impressive pool of nominations is truly representative of Carolina's mission to build an inclusive and diverse campus community and culture. The awardees are diverse in terms of the issues they are passionate about, as well as their approach to enhancing diversity and inclusion on campus and the broader community. So now let's turn to the presentation of these beautiful awards. As we begin, I will read the biography of each award recipient and ask that when I have finished, that they come to the podium and share their remarks. When they're done with their speech, Vice-Chancellor Washington will hand them their award, and then we will go over here and take a photo, and then the awardee will return to his or her seat. And at the end of the program, we have another special surprise for you. At the end, I'd ask for all the award winners to remain behind so that we can get a group photo. So, the first one, our undergraduate award. It recognizes a scholar who embodies the spirit in which this award is given. And this year's award goes to Jermaine Bryant. classics major and history minor, as well as a Robertson scholar. Get ready to be amazed by this guy. While in high school, Jermaine developed a passion for Latin and the classics and has been eager to share his love with anyone who was, and many who were not, willing to lend an ear. During his time at Carolina, he has been awarded the C.J. Harrington and the Albert I. Susskind Awards in Latin. At UNC, Jermaine noticed that a great number of students who were intrigued by the classics were reluctant to explore their interests either because they did not know Greek or Latin, or because they were intimidated by the prospect of entering a field in which they had previously had no exposure. With that in mind, Jermaine has undertaken several efforts to bridge the gap between interest and active exploration in students. During his junior year, he aided Professor Sharon James in teaching first-year seminar on women in Greek tragedy and reception, the way that people interact with the classics outside of their original context. The following summer, he worked at a classical education nonprofit, writing and editing Aquara and Eureka, Latin and Greek textbooks and curricula aimed at giving students exposure to ancient languages as early as the 4th grade. This year, he implemented a program at East Chapel Hill High School where classics majors work with high school students once a week to prepare them for academic competitions and expose them to topics not traditionally explored in the classroom, such as mythology and ancient history. He has also spoken about the classics in various departmental and university events. From a larger disciplinary standpoint, Jermaine is focused on using diverse perspectives to break down false preconceptions of white Greco-Roman world and exposing deep connections between classics and white supremacy, both historical and in present day. He believes in moving past the antiquated notion of an idealized West and believes that the study of classics should revolve around finding personal enjoyment in the study of cultures of Greece and Rome, rather than ascribing problematic value judgments to them. Jermaine's nominators had this to say about him. Jermaine Bryant has an intoxicating passion for the ancient studies and is incredibly optimistic. His contributions to the classical department are once in a generation. His contributions to the he has served as a mentor and a guide for other students both in the field of classics as well as in general. He encourages students to apply for travel funding to Greece and Rome and tutors in Greek and Latin. Many students have decided to major or minor in classics after talking with him and working with him in his classes. Not only has he given back to the classroom, but he has sought to implement institutional change by critiquing established narratives and facilitating diversity within the department and local school curriculums. He represents a commitment to excellence at the intersection of research, activism, and identity. Next year, he will be pursuing his PhD in classics and will be working on Latin literary criticism, Roman history, African American and Afro-Caribbean reception of the classics, and poetics, and hip-hop. Please join me in recognizing Jermaine Bryant as he comes forward to share a few words with us and accept his award.
Few edits, so I'm not using the one in the booklet. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank the committee for naming me the recipient of this high honor, as well as my recommenders in the Classics Department, especially my wonderful advisor, Dr. Sharon James, who over the course of this past year has been my anchor through all of the challenges that face a stressed-out senior preparing to graduate and move on to grad school, such as writing recommendations, calming anxieties, and reading more than the occasional hastily prepared draft. I would also like to thank my friends and family who have supported me throughout my entire life, from when I was a child who could be strange and difficult at times, to my young adulthood, where I can be equally, albeit differently, strange and or difficult. Honestly, I was surprised when I was named the recipient of this award. You have to admit, when it comes to recognizing a student for their work on diversity and inclusion, a Latin literary critic / Roman historian is something of an odd choice. I never styled myself as an activist, Nor do I, like many of my peers of color fighting the good fight, focus on race and ethnicity and antiquity, sexuality, or issues of gender. But keeping with diversity in the broad sense, there are many ways to bring one's experience as a person of color to a field where the majority of my colleagues and professors do not look like me. One time last spring, while a student in my Latin love elegy class was giving his translation, Dr. James stopped him because he gave a translation of the word malum, which comes to Latin from the Greek malon, as apple. Now, the dictionaries all define it as apple. In English, malic acid is an acid that is primarily found in apples, and in the stories that many of us grew up with, Adam and Eve ate an apple, and Paris gave Aphrodite a golden apple. So you may be wondering, if this speech is about diversity and inclusion, what does it have to do with apples? Well, all the things that I mentioned are well and good, but you hit a snag. Apples don't grow naturally in the Mediterranean climates of Greece and Italy. Where do they grow? They grow instead in the brisker climates of Germany and Britain, where most of the old guard classicists, people who look like classicists, hail from. Malum refers to a small fruit that you can hold in your hand and bite into. But the idea that it's specifically an apple, as opposed to a pomegranate or a pear, is a narrative passed down by people who have defined what the field is in order to affirm their worldview. We like to think that knowledge is this hard body of things that are and things that cannot change, and if they do change, it is because some new revolutionary discovery has supplanted the old, the incomplete, or the outdated. But we think less often about how the people who have established this body have made it in their own image. In this vein, I firmly believe that the best way to foster new ideas in the classics and the academy as a whole is to get the material into new hands, different colored hands, hands of students with new perspectives and from different backgrounds, and who are able and eager to deconstruct the boundaries and challenge the common held wisdom in their fields. A friend recently told me, activism does not have to be taking to the streets or tackling large institutions head on. Activism can be as small as making sure your spaces are inclusive to the people who do not look or think like you. As I go forward in the classics or in anything else I might do, I will hold this message near to my heart, and I challenge all of you to do the same. Thank you.
Recognizes a graduate or professional student, and this year's 2019 awardee is Mariel Marshall. Mariel is a second-year master's student studying clinical rehabilitation and mental health counseling. Since she was young, she has been engaged in community service efforts to improve diversity and inclusion in her surrounding community. While in high school, she volunteered at several local hospitals and traveled with the YMCA to volunteer in Brazil. While attending Ithaca College, her undergraduate mentor told her, "There is a community outside of college. You should get off this mountain." Because of a mountain. Okay. That mentality really stuck with her, and upon moving to North Carolina, one of her goals was to get to know the larger community. One of the things she enjoys most about community service is a sense of belonging to the community and giving back to people in need. The professors in her program have provided her with ample opportunity to give back to the community. For example, after attending several lunch and learn events, Mariel noticed an abundant amount of unused food. as we may have today, please eat up. Okay? With permission from Dr. Berker, she took the liberty of packaging the remaining food to distribute to several shelters in need. She was able to connect with Dr. Mitchell of the Allied Health Sciences Department and was invited to join the Diversity and Inclusion Leadership Team as a student representative for her division. This opportunity allowed Mariel to help increase diversity and inclusion efforts of the department by giving a voice to students of color in that department. As acting president of the UNC NAACP chapter, Mariel is given several opportunities to engage with the broader community. She enjoys helping those in need as long as she has extra time and resources and will gladly give back to her community. Mariel's nominator says about her: through her volunteerism and clinical work, Mariel has cultivated, advanced, and modeled diversity, inclusion, and equity within the Carolina community since she joined our program. The Carolina community